Hey everyone, welcome to this section. So here we are going to discuss regarding the next content ID inspection profile, which is called as the anti-spyware profile. Now, to configure the anti-spyware profile, the most important thing, why do you need it? It is a security feature that will help you to detect and block any spyware, any sort of command and control traffic, we call C2C traffic, and also any malicious DNS query. So if there is any sort of spyware based attacks that has been taking place which tries to gather any information, and any sort of malicious DNS queries will be prevented. It is generally a part of your threat prevention subscription license, and it will be working by inspecting your network traffic, which is for any sort of signs that show you for spyware infections or any communication that can happen with any known malicious command and control host, right? So your Palo Alto firewall becomes capable enough to understand that your, let us say, inside user is trying to reach to a destination host which is part of a C2C botnet, or which could be a malicious DNS server, and could be a part of spyware signature, and it will be taking an action based on your anti-spyware configuration that you define. Okay, so first thing first is how do you configure that? So when you go to the Palo Alto firewall one, so I've got an inside user who tries to access some sort of destination URL, and I can go ahead and configure the anti-spyware profile. So you know that already we have enabled the SSL decryption policy on my Palo Alto firewall. I have got a security policy which allows the traffic from inside to outside, and we have added the antivirus profile on the previous note. Yeah, and now we are going to add the anti-spyware profile along with that. So, and also you can see the decryption profile is also in place to decrypt any SSL based traffic, okay, and to understand the hidden content behind the scene. So now the user is trying to go to, let us say, to any destination, right, which contains, let us say, might be containing some sort of keywords, say spyware. So let's say I just type here PDF converter as an example. Let's say I go to that smallpdf.com, right? Let's say I'm trying to access some document which has got the keyword called a spy. Might be I'm hitting some URL that has got a keyword as spy just for testing purpose, and I can see that I can access it, but it is showing that page not found and all, but it is not getting blocked, right? So let's take it as an action. So let's say I go to the PFW1 firewall, go to the objects, I go to the security profile. Under anti-spyware, I can see I've got a couple of default profile which is created. So under the name default, you have got 4 policy. Under the name strict, you have got 5 policy, and this informational policy is added into that strict rule. Okay, so you can see that you can actually select, let us say, the strict one. You can clone it, and you can click inside that clone policy. You can apply your own name. So let's say my anti-spyware policy. You can give a description of your choice, say it's policy 1. And if you see the policy name, you can see the severity is critical, what is the action it will take, and any packet capture for that policy if it is enabled or disabled. So if I click on that policy name, you can also modify this policy name. You can give as per your requirement the any name, define a threat name, you can define the category. So there are different types of categories which is classified under spyware. So you can see most of them would be for DNS, right? So it is very important that you check that if any sort of DNS sinkhole features are getting blocked or not. Okay, so most of the spyware based profile is created for DNS based sinkholing, or to prevent any DNS based sinkholing attacks. Okay, so category is basically here as DNS. We can see there are different categories as botnets as well. So you have got a category of botnet, backdoor, autogen, so there are multiple categories that you see, right? So yeah, so you can add a category based on a requirement. If you want, you can do that. Packet capture, you can define an action which is either allow it, drop, reset, block, IP, multiple actions you can take. Packet capture, you can enable packet capture for single packet, or might be you can enable for extended captures of multiple packets as well. Okay, we'll discuss regarding packet captures and all later. You can define the severity level, that if you define any sort of policy based on certain threat category, what is the severity level for that. Okay, so all right, so for example, now let's say cancel it. I can add my custom one, so I can define a policy name. Let's say this is for DNS policy 1, something like that. Category, say I want to go for any sort of DNS malware. Okay, action, let's say I want to drop it. Packet capture, say I want to enable, let's say disable as of now, and severity I can make it to critical. Okay, click on OK. So that will be added to your existing, that will be added to your anti-spyware profile which you create. All right, and also you can select that, you can you can move up that particular policy across multiple security, across multiple profile rules, or you can move down. Yeah, you can also find the matching signature, so you can click on the signature exceptions, right? Okay, so let's uncheck that. You can click on signature exceptions and you can see show all signatures. Just click on that and you can see that what are the different patterns are supported, which patterns based signatures are currently being identified as a spyware category. So all the signatures details are available here. I can see it's like 8,366 threats as of now, and kind of 279 pages of threat spyware signatures are updated here, right? You can define DNS policy, and you can see that the DNS sinkhole policy is now enabled, right, which is the default one. So if the user is trying to reach to any sort of spyware based DNS servers, so that will go into a sinkhole, right? So it will never be executed. You can define DNS exemptions. You can define some domain, or might be for certain threat ID, into DNS exemption categories as well. And also you can define for inline cloud analysis as well. Okay, we can exclude some IDs or distribution list for inline cloud analysis as well. Okay, so all right, I can see that. So let's click on OK. So I've made a anti-spyware policy. And likewise, you can see under custom objects, you have got a spyware object over here, where you can go and select the spyware object, and you can go and create any sort of custom spyware object based on a requirement. So let's say I click on add. I define a threat ID, and you can see the threat ID should be part of this respective ranges as shown here. Let's say I give a range of 15001. I just give a name as let's say I give a name as spyware policy 1. Let's say comment as my spyware test policy 1. Severity level, I can define this as critical. I can define the direction of my traffic, so in which direction you want to detect for the spyware. Signatures, let's say for both the traffic sourced from client towards server, or the traffic sourced from server to client. Default action, let's say I want to drop it. You can also add some CVE reports, or might be some sort of references or any vendor IDs for referencing that. As of now it's lab purpose, so it's fine. You can define the signature. So it's a mandatory option. That means you can add a standard signature, or you can add a combination of multiple signatures. Let's say add a standard signature where I just define here spyware signature test 1, something like that. Okay, test 1. Oops, sorry. Okay, so I can define into a comment as well. So the scope could be a transaction or could be a session. Let's say it's default as transaction, and I can match that signature based on multiple conditions. Could be a add or condition, or could be and condition, right? So or condition means if I have, let us say, 10 signatures, so of all the signatures are I mean, if any of the signatures are matching, then that will be part of the or condition. And if the traffic, if it is, let us say, and condition, that means for all these 10 signatures defined here, every signature has to match for that particular traffic. Okay, so let's say I define an or condition, and I can define, based on multiple, parameters or multiple operators I have here, which can less than, equal to, greater than, or can define a pattern match. Let's say select a pattern match, and let's say I select let us say for HTTP, because I'm going to that PDF page. So let's say it's for HTTP request for URI path, and let's say whenever any URL I have the word as, spy, right? So ensure that this will be taken into account. Okay, so this should be dot star. Let's say the keyword is spy dot star. That means dot anything, and followed by a keyword as spy, followed by anything. So if anywhere in that particular URI path, if I have this characters called as spy, it should be identified as a signature. So let's add let's click on OK. Right, so this pattern is added over here for this context of HTTP request URI path. Let's click on OK there. All right, and if I look into my anti-spyware security profile now, if I go into that, if I look for signature exceptions, if I see show all signatures, and I can see that spyware policy 1 signature is now added into the database, into the list, and it is in the top order, right? Okay, so click on OK there. Now I want to attach this particular spyware policy to my security spyware profile to my security policy. So click on the security policy. I can click on the profile over here. Okay, let's click on action. Let's click on that anti-spyware section and select that my anti-spyware policy. Click on OK, and you can see that couple of policy or the couple of profile is added. One for anti-virus profile and one is that anti-spyware profile. Okay, I should rename that to anti-spyware profile. Okay, anyway, so let's commit that. I have made that as anti-spyware policy. It should be anti-spyware profile anyway. So let's commit this and let the commit gets completed. So let's wait for it. So it is almost done. It's on 99%. Let's wait for it to get completed. Okay, you can see the configuration got committed successfully. All right, so you can close this, and now you can test it. So you can click on the client PC, and let's say I go to that same portal, and on the same portal, let's say I search for the keyword as spy, for example, and you can see that it is getting blocked. Okay, and you can monitor that against, let us say I just do a refresh so that I get some multiple monitor options. So under monitor, select threat, and you can see the category type is spyware. Okay, and it is matching that spyware signature and the spyware policy which we have created. Okay, and it is severity, the action that you've taken. Yeah. All right, so you can use that magnifier glass, and you can also see the threat ID over here, and that was which I have defined it. Okay, it is matching with that particular threat ID. Alright, so I hope you understand this. So let's write down some key points regarding this anti-spyware feature, and then we'll wind up this particular section. So so this is your Palo Alto anti-spyware profile. Okay, so what are the important thing? As I've told you, this is, so it is a security, it's a security feature that helps detect and block spyware, command and control, which is C2C traffic, and malicious DNS queries. Okay, it is part of threat prevention subscription, and it works by inspecting network traffic for signs of spyware, infections, or communications with known malicious hosts. All right, so what are the key components you have? The key components you have, first thing is DNS security and sinkholing. Okay, that means it will detect and block any malicious DNS request, which will help to prevent any communication with any malware command and control servers. And the sinkholing policy, when you enable the sinkholing policy, the sinkholing policy will redirect the malicious DNS request to a controlled IP address, and it will prevent any further infection. Okay, that's the reason, and it is by default enabled, as I've shown you. Next we have got this component called as signature based detection. As we have seen that already, so it will use some predefined and custom threat signatures to identify any spyware related traffic patterns, and also it will continuously update with new signatures from Palo Alto Threat Intelligence Cloud, which could be Wildfire and PanDB. Okay, so number 3 option is your packet inspection and traffic filtering. Okay, so which means that it is going to monitor traffic at different layers, that is from layer 3 all the way to layer 7 for any suspicious activities. And also the Palo Alto firewall can detect and block any known command and control communications which could be used by any botnets or any malwares. All right, number 4 could be your severity based actions, which means administrator can define actions based on multiple severity levels. So you've seen the severity levels could be critical, high, medium, low, or informational. And there are different types of actions which you can take is allow, where you permit all the traffic, alert, where you log the activity but you allow the traffic to pass through. Then you have drop, where you go and silently drop the packets. You have reset option for reset both client and server. So terminates the session from the client side or the server side or from both. And you have got block IP action as well, where you can prevent the offending IP from further communications for a set time, for a predefined amount of time. And the fifth one is logging and reporting. So which means that it can generate logs in the threat log section, as we have seen, for monitoring detected spyware activity, and it will also help with any forensic analysis and compliance of your organization for reporting purpose, right? So what are the different best practices, as I've told you? So make sure that use strict or default built-in profiles. All right. So I can say the best practices. Use strict or default built-in profiles for maximum security, because it has all the respective threat signatures into it. Make sure you enable DNS synchrolling. By default it is enabled, but if not, just enable that to prevent any command and control traffic. We call that a C2 traffic. Third point, make sure is regularly update the threat database for the latest protection. Okay. Fourth option should be monitor the threat logs for any unusual activity always, and you can use custom signatures, as we have seen in the lab, for any targeted threats. Okay, so I hope you understand the concept of anti-spyware. Please practice the same. Reach to us if you have any queries. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next lecture.